news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. New surveys reveal Vice President Harris's support among black Protestants and Hispanic Catholics is growing, while former President Trump's support amongst religious voters remains the same. Correspondent Bernie Bennett has more.
Two new reports, one from Lifeway Research on Tuesday and another from Pew Research Center last week, offer the first quantitative picture of religious voters' views on the November election since Vice President Kamala Harris became the Democratic nominee instead of President Joe Biden. Just as a bit of Harris and that of her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, shifted attitudes within the electorate more broadly, so it has with religious voters. The Lifeway Research report, based on responses collected between August 8th and September 3rd, specifically surveyed pastors across different Protestant denominations. The Pew report is based on a survey from August 26th to September 3rd of voters representing various religious traditions. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Hunter Biden's sentencing on federal firearms charges has been delayed until December 4th.
The judge has agreed to a delay requested by Biden's lawyers, who say they need more time to prepare. Biden was scheduled to be sentenced November 13th. In June, President Biden's son was convicted in Delaware federal court of 3 felonies for purchasing a gun in 2018, when prosecutors say he lied on a federal form by claiming he was not illegally using or addicted to drugs. The gun charges are punishable by up to 25 years in prison, but it's possible Hunter Biden will likely face far less time behind bars or possibly avoid prison time entirely. I'm Mike Hempen.
From Iranian hacking to Russian influence campaigns, the 2024 presidential campaign is encountering a spate of efforts by foreign adversaries to weaken faith in the outcome and potentially alter the results. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 522 points. More at townhall.com.
You know, anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks,
So there you go.
What it's like to feel
You
better.
would not make it long in my family.
Or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order.
We had a lot of
That's
viewers last night. We had like over 700.
Relief.
Hi, Eric here with Ultimate Tax Group. If you owe back taxes to the IRS or state, personal business, my team and I want to help you take your freedom back. Call Ultimate Tax Group at 888-1099. We will stop or prevent bank levies or wage garnishments. We care and fight for our clients. Call us today, 888-505-1099, ultimatetaxgroup.com.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Wall Street left to record highs as delayed jubilations across markets worldwide following the Reserve's big cut to interest rates. The S&P 500 jumped 1.7%, beating the all-time closing high it set back in July. The Dow rose 1.3%, also a record, and the Nasdaq Composite climbed 2.5%. The gains followed rallies for markets across Europe and Asia. Some reports on the U.S. economy help bolster hopes that it can manage to avoid a recession as the Fed continues to cut interest rates now that inflation is receding. The Dow up 522 points to close at 42,025. The Nasdaq gained 440 to 18,013. The S&P 500 added 95 points to 8713. The Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear this evening with a low dipping to 67. Tomorrow, we get a bit nicer. A blend of sunshine and clouds, a high up to 86. For the weekend, it's gorgeous. Lots of sunny skies, highs Saturday and Sunday in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Welcome in, everybody. Big Thursday night edition of Sports Talk Media Network. We've hit the road. We've come down to the Coastal Empire. We've come down to our home away from home when home is along the coast. We're at James Smith Realty tonight. Jimmy Smith invited us to come in and do the show tonight. Actually, I invited myself and stormed right in. And as I always say when I'm here, this is more than just a real estate office. You think you walk in here and you're just going to talk, real estate and sell me this and rent me that, and that's part of it. But you got to come upstairs to the James Smith Museum. But it's not about Jimmy. It's about all the stuff he's gathered over the years. Footballs galore, helmets, pictures, autographs. It's pretty good stuff. I was looking for an autographed Chris Bergen picture somewhere on the wall. Couldn't find one, but now that you are the voice of the Chanticleers, I think Jimmy needs a autographed picture of Chris Bergen on the wall.
He would probably be better off having an autographed Ethan Vasco picture, but I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
By the way, are you wearing a T-shirt?
I'm wearing my James Smith Real Estate.
Love it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I've seen you on the show in a T-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the night and the mood and what we've got going on.
Chris, I think you wore that same shirt on Monday. Just so I don't want to call you out.
Did he really?
Yeah. It's possible, Josh, that I could have more than one version of the same shirt, right? Is that not possible? Plus, I do have a clothes washer at home. I do wash clothes.
Great invention.
Yeah. Plus, I was up late last night celebrating another Yankee clinching of a playoff spot. So, a lot of champagne taken last night. Braves won today, by the way, to get off on the topic. Braves won today 15-3, but they can't. The Mets right now have kind of got them around the throat because the Mets have not been losing, and so they're not gaining any ground on the Mets, and they're running out of games. Tonight might be a good night for Mike Morgan to break it down for us with the Braves in the postseason and what they have going on. Mike will join us at 7:05. Will Merritt and Corey Miller, the M&M boys, at 7:35. Will apologize for missing us last week. Assures me he'll be with us tonight, so we look forward to having him with us. And an array of other folks we'll be hearing from, including Coastal Carolina coach Tim Beck, Clemson receiver Antonio Williams, and NC State head coach Dave Doran, who just met with the media this afternoon, so got some fresh stuff from him. South Carolina, of course, getting ready to host Akron as a 28-point favorite, figuring that it will be Robbie Ashford most likely as the starting quarterback, based on what we read yesterday about the condition of Lenore Sellers and his ankle. And again, I would say even if he gets the all clear. Now, I know that Chuck Reedy said last night if he gets the all clear from the doctors and he looks good and healthy, you go and play him. But I'm not so sure I would do that considering you've got 2 weeks off and they have got I would consider what's ahead for them to be, after the week off, I would consider what's ahead for them similar to being in a UCF contest. I mean, they're going to get, is that what it's called? UCF?
Yep.
Or UFC, what is it?
Yeah, UFC.
UFC, yeah. I mean, they're going to get knocked up against the head a bunch in October when they're going to be playing teams right now ranked number 4, ranked number 5, ranked number 15, and ranked number 25. not in order, but consecutively. So you might want to make sure that your star quarterback is fully, totally, and he needs to be very mobile. He needs to be able to escape the pressure. He needs to be able to run the football, throw on the run, get out of the pocket, and protect the football. I think those are all things that he needs to be able to do when they get to that next big SEC game, which will be against Ole Miss in Columbia.
Well, you are an expert in Beamerese, so I will read you what evidently he said during his coach's show, which is a radio show, which has just started, according to Jordan Kay of the State. Said quarterback Lodori Sellers has, quote, done a little bit more in practice each day this week. We'll see how he looks on Saturday. In real speak, that means
he will not play.
Bengali Kamara and also Jared Brown in the same boat as Sellers, according to Beamer.
Yeah. None of those will play. None of those will play based on that. I mean, he is the master at saying one thing about injuries and doing another. Repeatedly. He's done that his entire career at South Carolina.
And he does not have to put out an injury report this week either, since this is not an SEC game.
That lingo leads him to believe none of those guys will play, which that reminds me, think about this, the week of the Clemson game. They don't have to put out an injury report.
Exactly.
Non-SEC game. Neither does Clemson for that matter, but I'm just saying they don't have to do that. Okay, very good. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. We're at James Smith Realty here at the border of Litchfield and Pawleys. From what I understand, voted once again best realtor in, is it Horry County? No, Georgetown County? The entire coast? America? The world? I'd say the world. James Smith Realty. More on that coming up in just a little bit. As for no more than Gamecocks, you serve more than Gamecocks. You're happy to take Clemson money, and there's a lot of Clemson stuff over here, signed Clemson stuff from coaches and players that Jimmy has worked with over the years. Anyway, before we get into hearing from some folks and looking ahead to the weekend and talking about things, we got one college football game tonight, and we got one NFL game tonight. Which one are you going to watch?
The Appalachian State South Alabama college football game, because I have zero interest in AFC East football, though I'm starting to lean back towards my youth when I was a Miami Dolphins fan growing up. And as the Panthers continue to find reasons to push me away as a fan, I may ultimately go back to my roots and start pulling for the Dolphins, at which case I would be more interested in the Jets and Patriots. But seeing how it affects Coastal, especially what Appalachian does tonight, I will be glued into that for sure.
Well,
I am surprised that's the only college game tonight, though.
Yeah. Well, they'll be coming at you full force here soon enough. They'll be, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, et cetera, et cetera. Patriots and the Jets tonight. Okay. Jets are favored by 6.5. So the Aaron Rodgers effect starting to filter in there with the Jets. Las Vegas starting to believe in the Jets because of Aaron Rodgers, and they've won a game. I think they're 1-1. New England's still trying to figure out their quarterback situation. What's so funny?
It was funny the way you said that, and they've won a game.
They have won a game. I mean, for the Jets, that's saying something. But Aaron Rodgers gives you a chance. You got decent people around him. You block for him. He's going to give you a chance. So that's probably good for the Jets. They'll probably win tonight. They'll probably beat New England tonight at home, I would say.
Well, that's interesting, too. I mean, that division has belonged to Buffalo the last several years. The Dolphins were supposed to be the team that would challenge the Bills, and now with Tua's injury, and who knows what's going to happen when he comes off IR, I think the Jets are probably in a position. They're not going to win the division, you wouldn't think. I mean, Buffalo's still a class of the AFC East, but you start winning some games and you put yourself in a position to get into a wild card position. I think Jets fans would do somersaults if they're able to get into the playoffs this year.
Oh, are you kidding me? They go crazy. Go crazy in New York. And, with the Yankees eyeing a World Series. The Yankees are in the postseason for the 59th time with their clinch last night. 59th playoff appearance for the one of the three greatest franchises in the history of sports, along with the Packers and the Celtics, of course. and trying to get to number. And you know what? That means 59, and they've won 27. So that means they've won almost 50% of the time. They've won the championship almost 50% of the time
impressive.
that they made the playoffs. So that is pretty strong if you ask me. Of course, nobody asked me, but I figured I would just tell you nonetheless. Let's see. Any other major stories? You were watching things as I was traveling this afternoon. Any other major stories we need to sink our teeth into?
I can tell you everything you need to know about the Virginia Cavaliers, and outside of that, I looked through Twitter late this afternoon. I didn't see a whole lot of stuff. Not nearly the news day it was yesterday when we had all the NCAA stuff we could discuss.
Yeah.
But really, I guess the only news we've gotten is what Shane Beamer has said about his starting quarterback.
Yeah, which is, again, saying something but meaning something else, I would say. I do not, based on what he just said, I would not expect those guys to play just based on how he has worded things in the past. We'll have a recruiting report coming up for you a little bit later on tonight as well. So why don't we go ahead and dive into that Virginia and Coastal game, Mr. Bergen. That's going to be huge in Conway. Says something about the program to be able to get so now in the last few years, let's see, they've had Kansas come to Conway.
Correct.
They've had BYU come to Conway. Now they've got Virginia come to Conway. It's amazing. Of course, a lot of things have changed, but you flash back 21 years to the start of the program when they played Newberry, that first game that night, and to think where the Coastal program is now. Where will they be in 20 more years, you think?
It's a great question. I mean, it really is. If you measure growth based on the 2 decades plus that the program has been around, you would have to believe that it turns into a 40,000 seat facility with an indoor right across the street that they can walk under and they're going to move the road and so many things are going to be happening on campus. I mean, obviously growth is probably not going to catch up with the program for a little while, I wouldn't think, but they certainly are trying with improvements they made to Brooks Stadium. Plus they're adding, as I mentioned, the indoor, which will be ready for next season. The program growth has been a remarkable thing to watch, going from FCS football, where you mentioned you beat Newberry in your opener and you tear down the goalpost and drag them down the street. I don't know if they beat Virginia tomorrow, do we get a duplicate of that? Would they tear down on Saturday rather? Would they tear down the goalpost? I don't know. I don't think this is as big, but I will say this, for a playoff possibility for the Chanticleers, this is a huge game. I mean, a mammoth game for them, because you've got your Sun Belt Conference schedule opening up in 2 weeks. They get an open date next week, and then they get Old Dominion. So if they could go into the open date fresh off a win over a Power 4 opponent, and Virginia is probably the team to bring in. I mean, the last 10 games that they have played, true non-road games against Power 4 opponents, non-Power 4 or Power 5 opponents, they're 4-6. So, I mean, I think Tony Elliott is right to be concerned, because he talked about some of that during his press conference this week. He's concerned about whether or not his fan base believes what he does, and that's that Coastal can't give them a game on Saturday.
Well, I thought Virginia, after sitting in at the ACC kickoff and listening to Tony Elliott and listening to some of his players, I thought they would be an improved team this year. They've been a little up and down.
And they are.
Yeah, they are improved. They're more competitive thus far. But I think that a disappointing loss last week, as I recall, had a nice win the week before. So they've been a little bit up and down, but I think they are improved. Again, this was in his first year, he had to deal with the tragedy of the shooting deaths of 3 of his players, I think it was, including one from South Carolina by one of their own players. I mean, that just, that knocked them back maybe a year. It took them a long time to deal with that and get over that. I mean, they're not over it yet, but you still, that has to set you back as a head coach, having to deal with that while trying to focus on building your football team. This will be the first of 2 trips for Tony Elliott back to his home state, because he comes to Clemson later on this season. But let's go into that and let's hear from the coaches.
All right, we're going to start with the visitors. Do we want to start with Tony Elliott or Tim Beck?
Your call.
Hey, let's go with the visitors. We'll welcome in Virginia. And you mentioned that Tony Elliott coming back to his home state actually will be closer to his home base in Conway than he will be at Clemson later this year. James Island guy, and now in his third season at UVA, and he's got a team that's 2-1 off that loss, as you mentioned, Phil, 27-13 to Maryland. They just got manhandled in the second half. Watched a little bit of that game earlier today. Their problem was scoring inside the red zone. Turnovers have been an issue for UVA, and here's what Tony Elliott had to say about making sure his team is in the right mindset as they get ready to take on CCU.
Out of respect for all opponents, I do it with each team that we're playing. With the mentality that every game is the biggest game of the season. You got to respect everybody that you're playing. But in particular, this bunch, I had a chance to coach against Coach Beck when he was at Ohio State, and got a tremendous amount of respect for him. He's done a great job, and I was, I know Coach Chadwell well, and they've done a great job down there at Coastal for years. So you got a group that's confident. They're used to winning. They've been to 4 straight bowl games, and in particular, our performance in the last 10 road games versus non-Power 5s hasn't been good. So it's more just focusing on us, but having a healthy respect and understanding of who our opponent is.
New college football playoff and the expansion. I want you to talk to your team about that and what this means for a group of 5 teams to host a power conference opponent and what I'm doing over a power conference the long term.
Great question. Don't want to talk about it too much, but I do want to acknowledge it. I'd rather them hear it from me than from everybody else, on the outside, and let the message be clear. And so the message was that this football team we're getting ready to play believes they have a path to the playoff, which they do. And if they win every game on their schedule and they beat a Power 4 at home, then they're going to have a chance to get into the playoffs. So it's a prideful bunch down there that's playing for a lot, and we need to make sure that we don't focus too much on them, but we also, we don't buy the lie, right? And the lie is that it's a group of 5, and you should just be able to show up and win. I mean, you're seeing it all across the country with non-Power 4 teams beating Power 4 teams, and you'll see more of it. I think there's when you look at their roster, right? They got a lot of Power 4 transfers that want an opportunity that are down there playing, and they got an experienced bunch, and they know how to win. They're confident. They've taken care of business in their first 3 games, and done it in a respectable fashion. So they know. Right now, the question is, okay, how are they going to respond to the information that they receive? Are they going to choose? And really, the challenge was, let's be different. If we just look at us, let's focus on us in the last 10 true road games versus, non-Power 5, 4 and 6. So we want to be different, and we want to change things. And it starts with, us taking care of what we need to take care of from a preparation standpoint to go 1-0 this week. And if we do that, but don't think we're just going to roll the ball out there and this team's going to lay down and not show up. And they're playing at home. They got a sold-out crowd. Homecoming, I believe. They got Parents Weekend. They got a bunch of stuff. We're trying to get extra tickets. We don't have enough tickets for ourselves because they got a big crowd. I mean, it's going to be a fun environment. But those guys are going to come out that locker room believing that they're going to win the game. And so we have to have a greater level of belief. But we also got to go out and we got to bring that belief into action and do what we need to do, play in and play out to put ourselves in position to win.
They're the top 20 in the country in turnover margin.
Yeah.
What are you noticing about the way that disrupt offenses?
Yeah, and we're actually at the bottom. We talked about that. So there's a lot that we talked about over the course of the first couple of days of preparation, just to know the opportunities that we have to get better. But they got a deep defensive line. They move around well. They get to the quarterback. They disrupt him. They get him off the spot. They force him to make off-platform plays. And then when they put the ball up in the air, their guys come down with it. And then they do a great job offensively of taking care of the ball. And that's where we got to get better. We got to create more turnovers. Right, and then we got to do a better job of taking care of the football.
When you look at Anthony Calandra and his style of play, what is the challenge? Because he's going to be the guy who's going to make those low probability big plays, but then you don't want to take that away from that. So as a coach, do you just kind of live with it? Do you help him balance it? How do you approach it?
Yeah, you gotta help him balance it, and he and I just sat down and talked, and really it was, okay, what'd you learn? Right, what'd you learn from the game? Okay, and what he's learning is that there's some plays, man, you just gotta let them die. right? And then some plays, you want to keep them alive. And that's where, through experience, you'll figure out that balance, right? Because if we tell them, well, don't keep plays alive, then that takes away, a lot of, what makes them special. So I think you got it. And then I pointed out too, went back to 2016 with Deshaun, and Deshaun threw 17 interceptions that year, right? And still won a national championship, right? So you can't take it away from him, right? But you still got to coach him through. And hopefully, as he continues to gain experience, he'll be able to self-reflect and say, okay, this is where I did not maybe do the best job in preparation, right? So, okay, that's the area that I want to go attack, okay? And then, okay, this was a decision that I shouldn't make, all right? So then what was I thinking? How do I correct it? But then also, like, the pick that he threw over on the sideline where he was trying to get the ball to Kobe, right? Like, he wants that one back. But, man, as coaches, the play before that when he was scrambling, Malachi popped wide open, and you want him to throw it, right? So, like, you can't. You just got to coach him through it, and as long as he takes ownership, which he will, and there's nobody that wanted to win that game more than AC, and there's nobody that was more disappointed that we didn't win the game than AC, and so we'll coach him and we'll balance it, but we're not going to take away what makes him special. We'll just use every opportunity to learn and present it to him, and hopefully he receives it, responds the right way, which I believe he will, and you'll see him improve.
All right, Tony Elliott, coach of the Virginia Cavaliers. I think that Tony Elliott is universally liked, and anybody that knows his story can only admire what he has become, because you talk about overcoming life's roadblocks. This guy, he's all of that and more. And think about this. Do you think, now he's just going into his third year at Virginia. I think you give him a pass really on his first 2 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
So just really getting started at a non-football centric university. But let's just say he does a good job. He's a young guy, and let's say he gets them going and he makes them competitive. Might even win an ACC championship. Who knows? Maybe not, but at least be competitive. I mean, he's universally loved by Clemson people. Could you foresee the day when Dabo Swinney decides to retire? Maybe, I don't see Dabo going more than 10 more years, because I think he'll be in his mid-60s. And by then, I mean, who knows what college football is going to look like. My point is, would he be, depending on who the AD is as well, if Graham Neff is still there, I mean, where would Tony Elliott fall in line to be Dabo Swinney's successor, assuming that his successor is not already on his staff somewhere?
I would think, and I don't think now, we'll see how Garrett Riley turns out as an offensive coordinator. And my guess is Garrett Riley, if he continues to blossom as an OC, he'll get another opportunity as head coach somewhere else long before Dabo will step down at Clemson. But I would think Tony Elliott's got to be in your top 2 or 3, unless he just fails miserably at Virginia, which I don't know, Phil, because he's at a school where they're third most in terms of sports, especially on the male side. They may be third in the pecking order, behind basketball and baseball at UVA. So, well, and they're still dealing with the tragedy of the players that were killed a couple of years ago. They still have their last names painted at the back end line of the end zone. So, I mean, that's going to stay with them, it appears, for a long, long time.
Is Coastal expecting a lot of Cavalier fans to be in attendance?
That's a good question. Tony Elliott was asked about that. He was asked about the environment he's expecting, and he referenced that they have tried to get tickets, they as in UVA, and they can't get any more. So I don't know how many I don't know what the school's policy is in terms of opposing teams, how many tickets they get, but whatever they got, UVA has filled out that list, and Tony Elliott wants a few more, and I don't think he's going to get them.
By the way, coming over here to Jimmy's, coming from the Midlands, come up 544, go right by Coastal, saw where you stand with the building of the new indoor practice facility. That thing looks monstrous from the highway.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly that has gone up. Once they started putting the steel up, it has moved considerably. But as Tim Beck has told me, there's plenty more. Once they get the outside shell done, there's a whole lot of other stuff they're going to have to do inside, like he was telling us, because when we chatted with him back in early August during the Palmetto Pigskin Tour, it looked like it was going to be ready before the end of the season. He said, no, it'll be on into the spring, summer of next year before it's done.
All right, Tim Beck is coming up after the break here on Sports Talk. Be right back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear this evening with a low dipping to 67. Tomorrow, we get a bit nicer. A blend of sunshine and clouds, a high up to 86. For the weekend, it's gorgeous. Lots of sunny skies, highs Saturday and Sunday in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Football season is grilling season, and Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio is South Carolina's premier source for the big three: Weber, Traeger, and Big Green Egg Grills. I'm Jack Oliver. Grill all your tailgate favorites to perfection with a premium gas, charcoal, or pellet grill, then top it all off with something sizzling from your griddle. For grills, griddles, patio furniture, hot tubs, and saunas, shop in store or online at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive in Columbia, and jackoliverpools.com.
The Point.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting U.S. officials say Israel warned U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in a call Tuesday that a military operation was going to take place in Lebanon. Israel provided no details of the attack in which thousands of pagers belonging to Hezbollah militants exploded. The call was one of four between Austin and Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant since Sunday, as attacks have spiked between Israel and Hezbollah. Police say one person's been killed and another seriously wounded in a stabbing incident in central Rotterdam. Police spokesman Wessel Stoll says that a suspect who was detained was also injured. He was taken to the hospital for treatment. Officers are investigating the stabbing near the landmark Erasmus Bridge in central Rotterdam. On Wall Street, the Dow by 522 points. This is SRN News.
I was thinking about the things that matter to me when it comes to calling the plumber. First, most of us call the plumber out of a need, often a crisis. So you want reliability. Then, we're in a vulnerable place already, so you want someone you can trust, someone who will be fair in their pricing and handle things professionally. These are some of the reasons I feel comfortable recommending Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. See, they've been out to my home. They've been out to my brother's home, too. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning did such a great job. And you know, maybe this might not matter as much to some people, but they're locally owned. A lot of these plumbing companies you've heard of used to be local, and now they're owned by big national or even international conglomerates. Working with a locally owned company matters. It keeps your pricing down, and the money stays local here in the community. Josh and his team at Franklin makes customer service their top priority. I trust them. You can too, especially during these vulnerable times. Online, it's franklinplumbing.sc.com or call them 799-2222. That's 799-2222.
If you step onto H&J Cattle Company's farm, you'll find third-generation farmers upholding the legacy. They embrace sustainability and take immense pride in their craft, raising cattle purely on nature's offerings, without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. The result? Unmatched quality beef that's not just good, it's the best in South Carolina. Experience the distinct flavor of our finest registered Hereford and Wagyu beef. Visit us online at hdjcattle.co or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle CO.
Hey y'all, my name's Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. It is football at Flight Deck. We are thrilled about football season. Of course, when you're watching football, there's nothing better than wings and ice cold adult beverages. We here at Flight Deck are offering some of the most delicious meaty wings that you'll ever wrap your lips around. Flight Deck Restaurant's got hot flamethrower wings, barbecue wings, teriyaki wings, honey mustard wings. Flight Deck will be featuring Carolina and Clemson football on all the TVs all the time. So come see some great football, enjoy great wings, and sip some ice cold adult beverages. Flight Deck Restaurant in Lexington. Thanks y'all and God bless.
Hey Columbia, did you know there's a beautiful sporting clays course, rifle range, and 200-person event center just 30 minutes from downtown? The Palmetto State Armory Outdoor Range in Swansea, South Carolina has everything you need to prepare for this upcoming hunting season, from sighting in your rifle to knocking off the rust on your shotgun. Are you looking for somewhere to host an event or fundraiser? We have everything you need to make your outing one they won't forget. Come check us out at 1201 Redmond Mill Road in Swansea, South Carolina. Find us at facebook.com/PSA Outdoor. That's facebook.com/PSA Outdoor.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Back on Sports Talk on this big Thursday night. We are at James Smith Realty here in Litchfield and Pawleys Island. And let me tell you about Jimmy while I got a second here. Of course, he's sitting right over there, so I got to say really nice things about him. But you know that we don't have to say it because we want to say it. It comes from the heart. It comes from the heart. 843-237-4246 for your perfect beach getaway. James W. Smith Real Estate. What's the W for? Wakefield. Now, Chris, that's a fancy middle name. James
Yes, it
Wakefield Smith. I mean, that sounds like royalty almost, Wakefield. Jimmy's the man. Everybody around here knows him and knows that, especially when it comes to finding you a great place for the beach, whether you're coming down for a weekend or a week or a lifetime, whatever you need. And they got a great staff. Former Gamecock standout third baseman Neil Giesler is one of the folks that you could deal with. We've worked with Neil. He does a great job. The thing about it is they take a personal interest in your needs. They just don't leave you out there hanging. You know, you have a question, you call him, you get an answer. And they will go above and beyond the call of duty to make sure you get what you're looking for. So make that call, 843-237-4246, or online at PawleysVacationRentals.com. Not too soon to start planning for your next summer vacation. Of course, get on down here because the place is cleared out, right, Chris? Everybody's gone home, back to school.
Yeah, you saw that today, didn't you?
No, the traffic was crazy. Traffic was crazy. Who are these people?
It never clears out anymore. I can remember when I first started working at Coastal back in 2007. You could buzz down there, especially once basketball season started, and hit every light and hardly have. I can make it in about an hour and 10 flat here from Florence. Not anymore. That has changed considerably. It is busy all the time.
Yeah. 544 was packed going both ways today. Okay, speaking of 544, that's right where that big old Coastal Carolina Stadium, Brooks Stadium, sits. And it'll be packed on Saturday with traffic, foot traffic, car traffic. Everybody trying to get in to watch the Chanticleers take on the Cavaliers. What does Tim Beck think?
Tim Beck's ready. It sounds like he and the guys are taking that one game at a time mentality. Of course, that's the new mantra of many coaches. No game is bigger than the previous one, so this one as important as William and Mary. Though in reality, it's a huge game for Coastal. There's no question. And Tim Beck met with the media yesterday, and here's a little bit of what he had to say about the Cavaliers in Saturday's ball game at 2.
Very excited about this week's game. Expecting a nice crowd. Expecting the Con Wave to show up and be loud, and I think our players are excited about the challenge ahead of them. Virginia's a good football team, and we're looking forward to the game Saturday.
Coach, obviously y'all have been having a great success with the run game, so that brings me to Javen, and that brings me to Braden. You said you thought Braden might be able to come back, but you don't necessarily have a lot to say about Javen. What's their status right now?
They'll be out this week.
Are they looking like they're going to be able to return this year, or are they looking like long term?
No, I don't know all the way 100% yet.
Okay. Since we're talking about,
I feel like we got a good chance of getting them back, but I don't know yet 100%. Because some of it's just how things go. But
status on Will too.
I don't know. Probably not. But he's working through it. We're doing some things with him. We'll see. But probably, if he had to list them, probably be doubtful.
Is Braden? Is it like a knee issue with Braden? What's kind of going on with him?
I'm not going to disclose what's wrong.
Talking about this Virginia team, what have you seen from them offensively that poses them to be a threat?
The quarterback, he does a great job. He is definitely the catalyst of their team. They have a big, strong veteran offensive line, 3 grad students playing in there, and very, very talented receiving corps and a very good running back. So their skill is very good. And so it's going to be quite a challenge. We're going to have to do a great job tackling in space. We're going to have to do a great job in our coverage. We're going to have to make them earn the things that they get.
Talk a little bit about the excitement of hosting an ACC team. You know, I think it's the first time the school has hosted an ACC team conference you're familiar with. So just talk about, you know, kind of the general excitement around this game.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'll be honest, in the building here, it's next team up, to be honest. If you think we're like running around, oh, wow, this is so cool, ACC's coming. We don't, it doesn't, whoever the next game is, really. We're in here it's process driven, very process driven. I know that's bland or coach talk, so to speak, but we come in and our work schedule and workflow is exactly the same as it was against William and Mary. And you don't change routines. It's about the process. This game is us versus us is really what it comes down to. It's our players doing their job, holding our standards up and holding their teammates accountable to those standards, doing it harder, faster, better, and tougher than they do. And that's the goal, you know. Now, for Conway and the school, I think there's a lot of excitement. I think it's a great venue, very rich tradition program coming in. So I think it's really a cool environment. It's going to be something I think that hasn't been seen here before.
Coach, after watching the film, what do you believe that your team learned about going up 21-3 and then allowing Temple to come back to make it a game that's going to benefit your program moving forward, especially with conference on the horizon?
I don't know how many times we got to do that to learn the lesson. You know, I mean, my goodness, we were up 37-7 the week before, and keep trying to preach that lesson. It's not getting through. But yeah, I think one of the things that was really encouraging for me as a coach was, you know, we go all the way back to halftime. We came out, we were getting the ball. Hey, we're gonna move down and score, and then we're gonna score. You know, go up 2 scores and open this thing up. And we went 3 and out and punted. And then to top it off, they got the ball and went down and scored, and made it into a close game, and went from 21-10 to 21-17 pretty fast. And everything you wanted to do as a coach, we didn't do, right? But we responded. The offense took the ball, went on a 13-play, 75-yard drive, scored a touchdown. End of the game, I go for it, trying to put them away, you know, knowing that we score, it's over, get the first down. We didn't get it. Our defense had to go out and make a stop, and they did. So it showed that we have that capability to make those drives offensively or those stops defensively when we really, really had to, in crucial, tough, tight situations and on the road against a team that backs were against the wall that was very hungry. So there was a lot of positive things that came out of that. And I told the team after, I was proud of them. It was a good win. It was a good win.
Coach Tony Elliott, their head coach of Virginia, you know him fairly well from past stops. What is your relationship like with him, and what do you kind of expect out of him as a head coach, how he's gravitated up to that position?
Yeah, I mean, Tony's done a great job. You can see he's in his 3rd year. He's got his players, his system. They're operating much more efficiently on both sides of the ball and in special teams. Very well coached. They're very well coached. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't beat themselves. And, you know, you're going to have to get what you earn against them, so, you know, defensively especially and in special teams. So you can see and it took, you know, it takes everybody a little bit of time, and it took him some time to get what he wanted, and he's done a great job there.
Coach, from an offensive standpoint, Virginia clearly is making hay in their passing game, nearly 1,000 yards there. Would this be, I would assume this would be the toughest challenge for your secondary, given what Virginia is doing in the passing game?
Yeah, no doubt. Up to date, certainly. And they got some really good skilled players doing it. And a quarterback that's, you know, as a fan, he's fun to watch. As an opposing coach, he's not.
Turnovers have been an issue. We talked about.
Yeah, I think in every game, right? You know, it's funny. I think I brought it up last night on the radio show. Everybody else thinks it's coach talk. It's turnovers and red zone. And the last 2 games we've won both. You know, when you're winning the turnover battle and you're scoring touchdowns and they're kicking field goals, you're probably going to win the game.
Do you see this game being, slowing down their offense or doing what y'all want to do on offense? Do you see it as a defensive focused game or more, trying to beat them with your offense, so to speak?
I don't know. It's a good question. It's hard to tell. We don't. There's no real like crossover games of talent players. That you could, gauge what it's going to be like. We have to do what we do, right? We've been successful doing it. There's no reason to change. If we go out there and play our best, we go out there and execute and protect the football, and I think we'll like the results. And if they beat us by doing that, then they beat us. Like, all we can do is play our best.
Okay, there you go. Tim Beck getting Coastal Carolina ready for Virginia. And you've talked about this ad nauseum this week, Chris. I mean, a win. It's a non-conference game, so it doesn't impact the Sun Belt competition. But, man, nationally, and it's Virginia. I mean, you're not knocking off Notre Dame or Georgia, but you're still you're stepping up in class, so to speak. And if you can get the win, really puts them in a position to think big with Sun Belt play coming up.
Well, and what it does too, Phil, is it continues to sort of push a narrative as to how good the Sun Belt Conference is as a football league at the Group of Five level, because, Georgia State beat Vanderbilt. Yeah, I get it, it's Vanderbilt, but an SEC team, and now you take out an ACC team here this week. If Coastal can do it, it's positive for the league as well.
All right, going to hit the break. We got more coming your way on this big Thursday. Back in a moment.
Oh, appliances, we can't live without them, and eventually we have to replace them, but we don't have to pay more for the new ones, not with Carolina Discount Appliances. Do you want to go and shop at a bunch of retail stores and determine which one has the lowest overpriced item? Me neither. That's why my first call is always Carolina Discount Appliances. The philosophy is simple. No retail prices. None. It might have a scratch or a ding, but overall it's new and will cost you much less than what you're going to pay anywhere else. So if you need a refrigerator, washer, dryer, stove, range, or microwave, they've got you covered. But for less money. Same brands, same appliances, less money. And Carolina Discount Appliances is the home of the $40 down. Take it home today. No credit needed payment options. Regardless, Sherry has you covered. Call today, 803-770-3008. That's 770-3008. No matter where you're located, same number, same person, Sherry at Carolina Discount Appliances, 803-770-3008. It saved me money. It'll do the same for you.
Set your youth up for a lifetime of financial success with Smart Start from Founders Federal Credit Union. Smart Start products and educational resources help teach kids basics, budgeting, and smart spending. Help them learn smart money skills to jumpstart their financial journey with Smart Start savings, debit, certificates, and educational resources. Learn more at foundersfcu.com/smartstart. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
Football season is upon us, and that means Columbia is welcoming fans from around the corner and across the country. No matter where you're from, Gamecocks love coming together for game day energy that can only be found in South Carolina's capital city. Book hotel rooms, find pre- and post-game activities, and plan your tailgate spread with local favorites from pimento cheese to barbecue at experiencecolumbiasc.com. We'll see you soon, and go Gamecocks!
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. Jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has introduced a new rolling jackpot, and it's big.
How big? Bigger than a striped bass? Reel them in.
Way bigger.
Bigger than this world-class golf course? Or
bigger than that.
Even bigger than the Gaffney Peach?
Let's just say with this new rolling jackpot, Palmetto Cash 5 is officially too big to ignore. Palmetto Cash 5 draws nightly, so play today and check if your numbers are winners in the Players Club app or at seeducationlottery.com.
overall odds are 1 in 10. Top prize odds are 1 in 850,668.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Hi, Phil Kornblut here with our good friend George Bryan III, heard every Friday night on Birdies, Bogeys, and Biceps right here on Sports Talk. George, the Tsunami Bar, a very valuable tool for golfers. Why is that?
Well, the first thing that I say is the tempo. It's the only tool out there that allows the study of tension right from the first grab to be expressed, and rhythm and tempo is what makes the bar work. Gives you something awfully special to keep those hands soft and get that rhythm going.
Learn more about Tsunami Bar technology by clicking on the digital ad on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and save 5% by purchasing online using the promo code BBB5.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk, big Thursday night edition. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, and Josh Cohen, our studios in Columbia. Let's keep it with the coaches as we look ahead to Saturday. Let's hear from Dave Doran, who met with the media this afternoon. So this is fresh audio from the NC State head coach. NC State and Clemson, the Wolfpack 2-1, and the Tigers 1-1. This is the league opener for both teams. And Doran going into what is now his 12th year. He's 83-59 at State. And so far this year, they're averaging 26, but they're giving up 31. So they might be a little bit vulnerable. Of course, that's a bit on the skewed side because of 51 they gave up against Tennessee. Western put 21 on them, and Louisiana Tech 20. So they haven't exactly shut down anybody. And Clemson will try and keep that going with their offense coming off a hot game against Appalachian State. And, of course, NC State dealing with a quarterback situation, and that was the first question tossed at Doran today after their practice.
Did you see CJ this week in practice? Is he building? Did you see the confidence in him?
Yeah, it's building off what he did in the second half. Yeah, he's ready. He's had a great week. The guys are playing hard around him, so great opportunity for CJ. We're excited for him.
You've mentioned a couple times that what we saw on Saturday is what he's been doing in practice for months. What do you think he does particularly well that sets him apart from other freshmen?
He's consistent. I think there isn't any moment that we've put in front of him where he hasn't responded as you would hope, regardless of age. I mean, any player for that matter. And you can go back to the spring game. It was, he went against the first defense the whole day and had a really good day. So every time we've put him in a challenging situation, he's just been the same guy. He's been consistent. He's been uplifting. He's had energy. He bounces back if something happens. He's very coachable. So, those are habits, you know what I mean? And you always fall back on your habits. It's about not rising to the occasion. I saw someone write that. That's not what happens. The guys return to the habits that they've created, and he has a lot of winning habits,
You mentioned that you straddled the line of scrimmage
New trick, old trick? Have you done that a lot in the past?
Did you say trick?
Tactic?
Yeah, no, it's something I wanted them to understand. Like, to me, it's the value of winning the line of scrimmage, you know, regardless of play call. A lot of people get into, oh, you should have called this, should have called that. Like, wrong. Should have executed better, you know. You can hand off an inside zone, block it up, and have a touchdown, you know. I mean, drop back on a pass and execute, it's going to be a good pass. Defense, doesn't matter what he calls. 11 guys play hard, play together, it's going to be a good defensive call. And so the line of scrimmage gives the quarterback more opportunity, right? Gives the running backs more opportunity, gives the receivers more time to get open. And then conversely, defensively, you win the line of scrimmage, then they have less time to throw, smaller holes to run. And so that's where we have to win games. And I don't care what you're running on offense, it always starts and ends up front. And including tight ends, including backs, including DBs, linebackers, whoever's in that box in the trenches, they got to win. And so me being on that line and looking at which way that thing's going is a measuring stick of our toughness. And so that's something that we need in this program to be the team that we want to be.
What are some of the bigger challenges, Dave, that your team faces against Clemson on Saturday?
Well, I mean, they're talented. You know, they've been in the same system, the continuity that he's had longer than me, obviously. So, you know, they have a system. You know, their kids know it. So do we. We have a system. The crowd noise always on the road, and particularly when you're down there, can be a part of distracting guys and guys, you know, not focusing on the right things with all the things around them. And so just the environment. And conversely, there's nothing better than getting a big crowd quiet, you know, and you have to do that. You have to earn that through the way you play the game. And so we got a big challenge in front of us when you go into someone else's stadium that has, you know, the fanfare that they do.
You talked about Coach Roper having all the quarterbacks ready to play in case they're needed. What have you seen from Lex this week, kind of getting ready to be that?
Done a great job. I'm really impressed with Lex's preparation. I said this the other day, or it was last night on my radio show, but he has not taken reps physically behind the 1 and the 2, but mentally you can tell he's taking reps every snap. He jumped right in, no mistakes, directing guys the right way, encouraging his teammates, making good decisions, functioning. He's ready to play. And so we feel good about Lex, and I'm really excited about what he's shown us as far as how he prepares to play the game. And I'm not surprised, you know, I mean, the family that he's, you know, and that's what those guys are about. They're about working and doing all the stuff it takes to be ready.
How much does enrolling early help a guy like CJ be ready for this moment?
It helps. Yeah, I mean, it's just reps. You know, it's reps against college defense and the speed of the game and the system and the nuances of the system, the terminology. Even though he might have run a lot of similar concepts, they were called different things, you know, and even defensive ID, they might have called it this, we call it that. And so you're just, you know, football is a foreign language. It's funny. You go from school to school or even in the NFL, and one guy calls inside zone this, the other guy calls inside zone this. And so there's translation. And so the earlier you're learning the language, the faster you can process information.
Have you seen Grayson help Lex and CJ kind of get prepared?
Yeah, he's a great teammate. I mean, he jumped right into helping those guys in the meeting room, on the field, talking to them in between series, walking in the huddle with them and listening to him talk, making sure he's, you know, saying the right things. He's done a great job preparing these guys as well.
Is the noon kickoff skewed to travel? Are y'all going to walk through down there? How are y'all going to approach that?
No, I mean, it's no different than playing here last week. So, you know, the fact that we just played a noon game helps because you have a routine that the guys have already been through. We are a morning practice team, as you know, so we're used to waking up early and playing football. So noon kick's actually a good thing for us when it comes to the normalcy of playing early in the day.
Yeah, I think when you're on the road, these teams like playing early games. They don't like lingering around the hotel and dealing with fans here at the hotel or whatever. I mean, and watching other football games when you're trying to focus on your game coming up. This way you get that early call, you go have breakfast, you get on the buses, you go to the stadium, you play the game, and you go home.
Yeah, no, a road game, road team prefers the afternoon game. Now, Clemson would much prefer it be, say a 7 o'clock kick. So their fans could get excited, and it's easy when you're the home. I shouldn't say it's easy, but it's the routine is a little bit easier as a home team because you're not at the hotel. You're in your normal environment. So yeah, playing early in the afternoon that actually may be an advantage for NC State. That may be the only advantage for NC State, though.
Well, I mean the Tigers played a noon kickoff against Georgia. That did not go well for them, but that might have been mostly because of the opponent.
Yeah, I think that's because of Georgia more so than time.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'll be there. Looking forward to it. High noon at the Valley. We'll be back after this top of the hour break.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. There are new developments on that pipeline fire in suburban Houston.
Officials say human remains have been found inside an SUV that authorities say hit an above-ground valve on a pipeline in suburban Houston, causing a fire that has burned for up to 4 days. With the fire substantially smaller since it began, police were able to access the area around the pipeline in Deer Park. Residents in Deer Park, like Robert Blair, say they've seen a lot in their area, but never this.
We were hoping we were far enough away from the refineries that none of this would happen like this, but I guess anything can happen.
Authorities have offered few details on why the vehicle hit the pipeline valve. Officials say they expect the fire to be extinguished sometime Thursday evening. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Israel's security forces say an Israeli citizen has been arrested on suspicion of being involved in a plot by Iran to assassinate Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other top officials.
According to Israel's police and domestic intelligence, the Israeli businessman who lived in Turkey was recruited by Iran last year. He's said to have been asked to perform relatively small-scale tasks on behalf of Tehran before he was asked by Iranian intelligence to help plan the assassinations of the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and or the head of the Domestic Security Agency, Ronan Bar. While the Israeli account cannot be verified, it highlights the ongoing shadow war between Israel and Iran, which is running in parallel to the direct conflicts between Israel and Iran-backed armed groups in the region.
BBC correspondent Yolanda Nell reporting from Jerusalem. Good day on Wall Street as the Dow was up by 522 points. The Nasdaq rose 440. The S&P advanced 95. More at townhall.com.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-504-8790. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-504-8790.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
Mortgage rates have dropped to their lowest level in more than a year and a half.
Mortgage buyer Freddie Mac says the average rate on a 30-year mortgage fell this week to 6.09%. That's the lowest it's been since early February 2023. Rates have been mostly easing since July amid growing expectations that the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates. Mortgage rates are influenced by several factors, including the central bank's interest rate policy. I'm Alex Vega.
The judge who will decide whether Google holds a monopoly over technology as buyers and sellers of online advertising must choose whether to believe what Google executives wrote or what they've said on the witness stand. The Justice Department's wrapping up its antitrust case against Google this week at a federal courtroom in Virginia. The government contends Google has built and maintained a monopoly on the technology used to buy and sell the ads that appear to consumers on the web. News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear this evening with a low dipping to 67. Tomorrow, we get a bit nicer. A blend of sunshine and clouds, a high up to 86. For the it's gorgeous. Lots of sunny skies, highs Saturday and Sunday in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-888-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
And we're back, Sports Talk Media Network, welcoming in those of you just joining us here at the top of the hour. Great to have you with us. Very busy first hour on the program as we looked at that Coastal Carolina-Virginia game. Also heard from Dave Doran, NC State coach. And coming up, we'll have the M&M boys at the bottom of the hour. Looking forward to visiting with them. We'll have some recruiting information for you as well. Right now, though, it is time once again here on Sports Talk to welcome in Mike Morgan for another edition of Morgan on the Move, brought to you by Carolina Discount Appliances. Same appliances, same brands, only it's for less. And they have delivery available throughout South Carolina. So call Sherry right now at 803-770-3008. That's 803-770-3008. New appliances delivered to your door today.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. Don't let the summer of savings pass you by. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
All right, Mike Morgan with us. Morgan on the Move, right in the heart of football season. But you know what? While he loves his football, he cherishes his baseball. So let's begin with a little baseball talk. Mike, good to have you with us. Welcome in. And Bergie and I were just talking off air after hearing what Ohtani has done, 50-50 and more. And we're talking about who should be the MVP, Ohtani or Judge. And you say who?
Well, they have one in each league, I think.
That's what I was trying to tell Phil, Mike. Thank you. I was trying to explain. I was saying Shohei Ohtani in the National League, Aaron Judge in the American League.
Well, okay,
like
but you know, when the
Sophie's
ESPYs
Choice.
roll around next summer, who's going to be named the Player of the Year in baseball?
It's Ohtani. I mean,
yeah.
It's in addition to leading Los Angeles to another divisional championship, I guess they haven't clinched officially yet. 50-50, guys. That's insane. This is absolutely insane. And it's not as if he's doing it with an incredibly low batting average, or there's nothing about this year. Even if he finished 51-49, while it doesn't have as neat a ring to it, that's your MVP. That is one of the best seasons in the history of pro baseball.
All right, let's turn our attention to the Braves. And they won today, big offensive day against Cincinnati, yet they're still trailing in the race for that last wild card. Do you predict the Braves in the playoffs or out of the playoffs?
I don't think my prediction means anything. Look, Sale was terrific today. If you want to talk about postseason awards, that's your Cy Young winner. He's got a chance to win the Triple Crown in pitching. But I don't know if they're going to overcome the Mets for that final playoff spot. I think it literally comes down to the final day, which is what happened in 2010, which was my first year broadcasting with the Braves. I came down to the final game at the old Turner Field, had to win a game against the San Francisco Giants on a chilly night of the final day of the season, and that propelled the Braves as the wild card and got them in the postseason. I think that could very well be the same scenario, the final game this year. I think it's that close.
Mike, sounding a little congested on us tonight.
I am very congested, yes.
Do you need
Very,
maybe
thank you for
a little
noticing.
NyQuil or anything? Can we get you a little something to make it?
Well, yeah, you could send some soup over. That would be nice.
You prefer matzo ball or tomato? What do you prefer?
A tomato base is good. Yeah, tomato base is solid, and then maybe put some fixings in there, some crackers and vegetables. Yeah, no, I appreciate you offering.
Yeah, well, we aim to please, and we look out for our people. We want our people to be healthy because, when you're playing hurt, I mean, I appreciate the courage of trying to play hurt, but, we don't want you to.
I could have bowed out of this segment, Cornblute, but you know that I just don't believe in that. Sometimes you got to play hurt.
I agree. Tape it up and get back out there and rub some dirt on it. So,
exactly.
What did you think of South Carolina LSU?
Wait, Phil, if I may, I hate to interrupt, but it won't.
No, you don't hate to interrupt because you do it all the time. But go right ahead.
My apologies. I wanted to ask one more baseball question to Mike before we moved on, because what he referenced about it coming down to the final day. Mike, the Braves, the last time they saw the Phillies was September 1st. They'll get the Mets next week, and then they wrap up the season with the Braves Kansas City Royals clash, which everybody looks forward to seeing, especially the last week of the regular season. I realize you can't pick when the schedule is set out who you might be in a battle with divisionally, but wouldn't it make a whole lot more sense, like the NFL tries to do, last month of the season, play as many division games as possible?
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't know what the thinking in that was, other than the last two postseasons, the Braves have faced the Phillies in the opening round, so maybe they didn't want a situation where you play that you go head to head with them, and then for the third straight year you meet them in the first round. I don't know. It seems to me like they dropped the ball on that. They could have done that a little bit better, but that's just. I don't understand anything Rob Manfred does, never have, never will, so chalk it up to more of his brilliance.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that, too. I'd love to see more divisional games here in September, playing interleague games in September. And I know that you talk about the Braves and the Royals. I mean, that's going to carry some importance because both teams are vying for postseason. I get that, but I agree with you. I'd rather see them battling with people within their division who are trying to win the division than going interleague. Anyway, back to the football and your thoughts on that South Carolina LSU game last week.
I thought it was the best game of the weekend in terms of just pure entertainment value and back and forth and great play on the field. Obviously, the officiating was a big topic of conversation, and among other things. But I think above all, when you take a look at that team that Carolina faced in LSU, which we don't know how they're going to wind up, but I think they're a top 25 team. And they're a perennial top 25 program, and they got a hell of a quarterback in Nussmeier, in case anybody doubted him.
Yeah.
And when I watched it, though, Phil, I looked at two teams that, from an athletic standpoint, were pretty much on par with one another. And I don't know if we would have said that a year ago or 2 years ago. You can really see the upgrade in talent on that defense. And if Lenora Sellers stays healthy, I mean, we're having a different conversation. Carolina wins that game without question. And obviously, that's going to be the most talked about ankle, maybe the rest of the season in South Carolina. But I was just impressed with how they stood toe to toe. Had they won the game and had Lenora stayed healthy, there wouldn't have been anything flukish about it. It just would have been one team outplaying. Again, a perennial top 25 team that recruits well every year at LSU. So you take the sting away from the loss, which is impossible to do, I realize, in the near. But I think overall you come away seeing some of the progress that this staff has made in recruiting and in the portal.
No doubt. And what's kind of overlooked, I didn't realize it till I was looking back through the play-by-play and the stats. Dylan Stewart didn't make a tackle in that game. He didn't have a quarterback pressure.
Yeah.
He was zip for the stats, at least as far as the post-game stats. Maybe the coach's tape turned up something else. And he didn't play a whole bunch in the third quarter for whatever reason. But his presence out there is still something for South Carolina's defense. And offenses have to be wary of where he is. But, Kennard, despite the 3 big penalties against him, is playing at such a high level. He's really done a lot to improve that defense by himself. And I love the safeties and the way they're playing. It's a shame that would have been a number. Can you imagine the Gamecocks being 4-0, assuming they win Saturday, Mike? What Gamecock Nation would be like at 4-0 going into October?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that on the ITG show. I mean, I thought if they beat LSU, they'd be in the top 25. There's some guy, I don't know who he is, but he's on Twitter, X, and he has like the algorithms, and he tweeted out, had Carolina held on, I think he had them ranked at 19th in the country. So that alone would have kind of had a nice ring to it for a lot of fans for sure. But look, you still got a chance to be 3-1, and then you get the bye, and then you get Ole Miss. And Ole Miss has a chance to be a signature game for this staff, for this program. Tennessee obviously was that 2 years ago. The comeback win at Clemson 2 years ago. But I don't know. I mean, Clemson might be bigger than that. Ole Miss might be bigger than that this year. You're talking about a top 5 team that just about everybody has in the playoff already, that is loaded on both sides of the ball. If you could somehow pull that off, now all of a sudden, I think you caught a lot of people's attention in that loss to LSU. By the way, the numbers were in. They were incredibly good. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 6-7 million, which is a really good number, is 4 million. But when you get the ABC slot at noon, that's not sound like Jefferson Pilot. It's a different deal. Yeah. So a lot of people kind of opened up their eyes to Carolina football again. But if you beat Ole Miss, everybody will be forced to take notice. Like, okay, they got something going there. And by the way, a lot of their best players are young and will be back in 2025.
You hope, unless they're bought away by somebody
they're
else.
Poached by the portal. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Of course. And look, Carolina's going to do their fair share of poaching as well. I'm sure Georgia Tech would love to have Kennard back in a Yellow Jacket uniform, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, Arkansas's got a really good back, but they wouldn't mind having Rocket Sanders still running the ball in Fayetteville. It works both ways. But your point is spot on. I mean, they're going to have players that are going to draw attention, and it's the day and age we live in where all these players now, they're tampered with. The tampering is going on as we speak. It just, you'd be naive to think it's not, and you just have to do the best you can to keep as many as you can.
Did you get a good interpretation? I can only go by what I read. We talked about it last night. You living in Atlanta, and the Georgia governor issuing a decree, I guess, or an order, creating his own law, if I read it right, basically saying you can't touch Georgia, the state of Georgia teams. You can't touch them, NCAA or any other agency, for anything related to anything they want to do with NIL. And I took that to mean that, he put out a protection order that if they want to go contact if they want to break the rules that are in place and go and do something, they can do it, and the NCAA or anybody else can't touch them. Did you understand it that way, or how did you take that?
You might be 100% right, 100% wrong. I wouldn't know. I'm not smart enough, but I'll tell you how I interpreted it.
Okay.
I can't say that this is the right way. The way I interpreted it was this whole notion that, for example, in recent months, a couple of schools got dinged for, they say it's NIL money, and the NCAA said, that's not NIL. You got to earn your NIL. This is just paying players. What I interpreted it as is you can't intervene and say that Georgia, for example, the NIL that they're paying Carson Beck, we don't need you, NCAA, to determine whether or not it's legitimate or not. And if you try to mess with it, we are going to fight you on it. We passed legislation saying that we don't need your permission. No more Mother May I stuff on this. It's another case of the states, the schools, basically letting the NCAA know you're not in charge anymore of college football. And in large measure, they're not.
I agree with you 100%. Before we let you go, thoughts on Billy Napier? I just read today where Emmitt Smith said some things that the season's hard to watch at Florida, and he's really not expecting Napier to be there after this season. Can he save himself, or is it just too much piled up against him? Certainly he can save himself. I mean, look, some of those well-known Florida websites, the insiders, had him fired on Sunday. They had a board of trustee meeting being called, and Napier was the topic, and his firing was the agenda. Of course, that didn't happen. They obviously jumped the gun there. Doesn't mean it couldn't happen this Sunday if they lose to who they got this week. It's a non-league game, I believe. Oh, no, that's right.
They're in Starkville.
Mississippi State. Oh, they're on the road. Yeah. So, what do you see in there?
He's gone. I truly believe the people that I talk to there, this is just a matter of, okay, do you want to do it now? Like, if you go back when Will Muschamp was fired, and you've covered God knows how many firings. In fact, I think you're the reason every coach in the history of South Carolina athletics has gotten fired. You're the one common denominator. It's clearly your fault.
I always tell them when they get here, whether it's Clemson or South Carolina, welcome, but I'll still be here when you're gone. But they'll be a lot richer. They're going to be a lot richer when they're gone than I will be by still being here. So I don't know who's got the better deal.
I think they do. That's clear. But no, I think what I was going to say is that when Will Muschamp got fired, what was that, right after the Ole Miss game, I think? Because a week or two later, I had the Carolina-Missouri game, and I remember Will had already been fired, and so we're in the coaches' meetings, and we're talking to Mike Bobo, and Mike Bobo was the interim. And I can tell you, sitting down with Mike Bobo for 30 minutes, myself, Alyssa Lang, I think our analyst might have been Hudson Mason, our producer or director, Mike Bobo could not wait to get the heck out of there. He'd already made his plans. And it's not me slamming Mike Bobo. I mean, this is what happens. When you're an interim coach, you know you're not there to take the job over. You're there to you're a placeholder. You're an absolute placeholder. So he's already making phone calls probably to Georgia and whoever else. The assistant coaches know they don't have employment anymore, so they're telling their wives and their kids, honey, let's go ahead and start sending out feelers. So the point is, what do you really accomplish by pushing him out the door now versus a month from now or the end of the season? I don't think anything gets better. This season is already a lost season in the way of the attitude of most Florida fans. And so I think that they're just looking at it. The board probably already has made up their mind. But then it's just a matter of, okay, well, when do you want to pull the plug? Well, do we accomplish anything by pulling the plug now? Not really. Okay, well, then just have him come. He's not a bad guy. He hasn't done anything destructive. It's not a toxic locker room. It's not a divided. They're just not a very good team, and he has not done a very good job. So that at the end of the day, it's just like every other coach that fails at a particular job in college football. But I don't know. I've never seen a situation where by firing a guy and bringing in an interim, all of a sudden everything magically becomes glorious and the interim goes on to be this great story. More often than not, you're still going to hit the reset button at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. The Braves set a major league record today, by the way, with 4 3-run homers. That's how you get it done. Mike, I want you to know that while you were discussing things tonight, I called Goldberg's Deli right down the street from you, and DoorDash will be knocking on your door shortly. You got a gallon of matzo ball soup coming your way. Now they limited the matzo balls to only 6, so it's a gallon of soup with 6 matzo balls. But I imagine they'll be pretty large. Nothing like large matzo ball soups. Yeah, large matzo balls in your soup.
Yeah, that's what they tell me. If this was remotely true, I would actually be so happy right now because there is a Goldberg's Deli not far from my house in Atlanta. But I know you would never pick up the tab to send me so much as a bowl of soup. So your story is apocryphal from the very moment you implied that you were paying for a meal. So we know that this is not happening, and I'm going to have to make my own soup, and such is life.
Well, we hope you feel better. Are you working a game this weekend?
Indeed.
Excuse me.
Oh.
Goodness gracious!
Let's hope not.
I am off this weekend. Thank goodness, and hopefully we'll be better and ready to use these tones here in the coming days.
All right, man. Take care.
You
Feel
see what
better.
I do for this show? Do you see the dedication?
Tape it up. Rub
Yeah,
some
we
dirt on
appreciate
it,
it,
man.
Mike.
That's how we do things on Sports Talk.
That's how we
tape
do
it up.
things.
We rub
All right.
dirt on it. Yeah. And
I've
then
been
we
waiting
throw
for my
dirt on you.
DoorDash.
We throw dirt on you after you rub dirt on it. We throw dirt on you.
I believe that.
All right.
Guys.
Thank you much, Mike Morgan.
See you, Mike.
On the move to the doctor's office. We'll be right back after this break.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. It will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
Farm Bureau insurance agents live and work right in our community. They're not at the end of some 1-800 number thousands of miles away. The personalized attention, competitive rates, and a reputation for fast, fair claim service sets Farm Bureau insurance apart from the competition. For your auto, home, and life insurance needs, trust Farm Bureau Insurance. In Clinton and Lawrence, give Buddy Bridges a call at 864-984-0413 or stop by the office at 726 East Main Street in Lawrence to see how local makes a difference.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is here, and as you get ready to go out on the water this spring and summer, make sure you have all the required safety equipment on board. Check for a sound device. A horn or whistle will suffice for most boats. Inspect all of your life jackets. Make sure they're in good condition and are the correct size for all of your passengers. If your boat is over 16 feet, you will need to make sure you have an approved throwable device on board as well. Remember, boating safety is no accident.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosteller Brown. Did you know it's possible to avoid probate court after you die, regardless of what you own? Why put your loved ones through a long, stressful public process when there are better options for you? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, the Beef Checkoff Program.
Meet me at the London. If you find time, we can run one. Talk about some things we can undo. You just in the pen, I can find you. 6'1" on the money, 9'2".
All right, thanks again to Mike Morgan. Hope Mike feels better. And coming up, we have the M&M boys, Miller and Merritt, right around the corner. Couple of quick notes. Our poll question of the week brought to you by Larry Lucas, State Farm Insurance in Columbia. Number for Larry and Company, 803-799-1998. Make sure you give them a call for all your questions and needs related to the world of insurance, 803-799-1998. Ray Tanner announcing last week retiring as the AD at USC after this year. Your reaction to that news? 59.7% who have responded say they are happy. 40.3% say they are disappointed in that news. So, I think an AD always realizes that you're not going to make everybody happy when you're trying to do your job. And you do the best you can to hire the best coaches, keep your program out of trouble, and keep them in the black. And I think, for the most part, he did all of that. Okay, be back in just a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear this evening with a low dipping to 67. Tomorrow, we get a bit nicer. A blend of sunshine and clouds, a high up to 86. For the weekend, it's gorgeous. Lots of sunny skies, highs Saturday and Sunday in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. And Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says a judge in a rural Kentucky county was shot and killed at the local courthouse on Thursday. Kentucky State Police say a suspect has been taken into custody. In a social media post, Beshear said the judge was shot in his chambers. Authorities have not identified the shooting victim or the suspect. The shooting occurred at the Letcher County Courthouse in Whitesburg. A North Carolina trial judge has refused to block students and employees at the state's flagship public university from being able to show a digital ID to comply with a largely new photo ID law. Wake County Superior Court Judge Keith Gregory denied on Thursday a temporary restraining order sought by the Republican National Committee and state GOP. More details at srnnews.com.
Some people would tell you the world's on fire right now. Well, this isn't a political message. It's a message in support of Ken and his team at Broker Solar in downtown Columbia. I love what they're doing. This is meant to remind you about something. You can't pick your power company. It's not like swapping cell phone companies every time they ask for another rate increase. You know what, though? You can take control of your power bill. You can either pay the man or be the man. You can own your own energy. You need to reach out to Broker Solar. In Fayette, Columbia, when it's 100 degrees in the shade, you won't lose power when the grid can't handle the heat. You'll have stored energy and a solar-powered battery. During peak hours, when the power company's cleaning up, you'll run off your solar panels and you'll get the last laugh. Hey, solar's not for everyone. It's a serious financial commitment with serious financial benefits. My suggestion is you reach out to Broker Solar and the guys and let them answer your questions. Online, it's brokersolar.com, or give Ken a call at 807-7417. That's 807-7417 for Broker Solar.
Is it time to sit down with All Southern Construction to talk about that big spring project you've been dreaming about? Time for a new and beautiful deck to enjoy the Carolina evenings on? Time for a screened-in porch or a new addition to the home? All Southern Construction, the answer. Why us? Well, we're local, insured. We clean up after our projects. We're professional, we're ethical, and well, we're really good at what we do. Online, it's allsouthernconstruction.com or call us 206-4816, 206-4816.
Rain and chimneys don't mix well. This is Drew from ChimSpector, and we understand this all too well. Water exposure can cause serious damage to your chimney, but we've got just the solution for you. A top-to-bottom comprehensive inspection. Embrace chimney waterproofing and safeguard your home from potential leaks. Give ChimSpector a call at 878-7474 or explore our range of services at chimspector.com. We're your partner in the battle against chimney damage. That's ChimSpector at 878-7474 or online at chimspector.com.
Step into summer with no unwanted guests in your home.
At Modern Exterminating Company, we're not just experts in pest control, we're your neighbors.
Glenn and Melanie Matthews here. Modern Exterminating has been part of this community since 1955, offering unmatched experience with the family touch.
Trust us to keep your home pest-free with care and dedication that only a local family-owned business can provide.
Experience the Modern Exterminating difference. Call us at 765-2315 or visit pestfreesc.com.
Let us keep your home truly yours.
Want to hear my success story? I'm Fran Halloran, the money coach. I'm celebrating a decade of partnering with The Point. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. I've used The Point to significantly grow my small business. It started with a meeting with Kevin Cohen. A small business? Are you on a limited budget? No problem. Reach out to Kev at 563-8558. Get a customized plan and start your journey to business growth with The Point today. Success is one call away. Take the leap.
It's the M&M Boys on Sports Talk with former Clemson offensive lineman Will Merritt and former South Carolina linebacker Corey Miller on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back, Sports Talk Media Network on this big Thursday night. Time for the M&M Boys. Last week, we had one of the M's. That was Corey Miller. Tonight, we have the other M. That is Will Merritt. We're trying to connect with Corey at this particular time, but we've got Will back with us tonight from up in the upstate. He's had a couple of weeks to soak in the Clemson win over Appalachian State and kind of figure out where the Tigers might be headed as they go into ACC play against NC State on Saturday. Will, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I hope y'all are as well. And it's good to be back with you. And regarding the App State game, I was doing a show earlier today, and they asked me about the App State. It was a North Carolina-based show, and they asked me about that, and I said, you know what you know, and you know what you don't know, because it is Appalachian State, and so everybody's going to use that as saying, okay, well, you should have beaten them bad, but coming off the Georgia loss, and then I thought just mentally how they recovered, Phil. I thought mentally how they went out there, and that first quarter were just completely dominant, whether you're playing App State or Florida State or Utah State or whoever it happens to be. I thought that just bouncing back from a difficult emotional loss and then coming back out there in front of your home crowd and playing that well, I thought it energized Death Valley, and I thought that can propel you to going into ACC play.
No question about it. What did you think of the actual performance, the Xing, the Oing, the execution? I know it was against Appalachian State. You don't normally take them for granted. You don't normally think you're going to blow them out. So what did you think of the execution by the Tigers?
Well, let me first identify the play calling. I thought the play calling was night and day different than what we've seen in the past. I thought you had the defense guessing at all times. You never knew where the ball was going to go. Now, I will say that, quite a few receivers stepped up during that game because they were able to get open and give Cade credit. He barely even threw an incomplete pass the whole game. He was putting it on the money. And so whomever you're playing, you've got to be able to, pitch and catch. I thought the execution of the offensive line was paramount. I thought Cade had all night to throw the football. He could have sat back there, made him a ham sandwich, and then used the bathroom and then thrown it. It was just, he had a perfect pocket the entire time that he was in the ball game. And when you give somebody that is accurate, and of course we got a small sample size, only 2 games, but when you give him time, I think that he can be a very accurate passer, and I think he proved that. I thought the execution of the offensive line was incredible, and I thought them just giving him time and then opening up running lanes for Phil Maffa. But then the other thing is he was able to throw the ball to so many different people. You had multiple tight ends, you had multiple receivers, you had backs out of the backfield. He had so many different options from an offensive standpoint. It's hard not to score points.
So you as a Clemson guy watching all this, I know that after they took one in the teeth from Georgia,
Right.
Tiger fans were all upset. Woe is us. Season is lost. And then you beat Appalachian State. Okay. But it's the other things that are happening around you in the league. NC State's down their quarterback and looks like they're vulnerable. Florida State looks terrible. You don't have to play Miami in the regular season or North Carolina or Boston College or Georgia Tech, some of the stronger teams early on in the league. We'll see what Pitt looks like down the road. They look pretty good early on, and Louisville's still undefeated. My point is, though, at this point, looking at Clemson, you got to feel kind of good about the way things are shaping up for them related to the ACC race.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of addition by subtraction a little bit. I mean, who would have thought that Florida State's got a chance to start the season 0-4? I mean, nobody saw that coming. You know, nobody saw the struggles that NC State they were going to have against, you know, Western or whoever. Whoever they've played this year. I know they had them at one good win, but yeah, you know, when you talk about NC State, for instance, you know, this is still a veteran ball club. I mean, they play all the seniors on the offensive line, senior running backs, senior wide receivers. I mean, they're a veteran group, but they don't feel like they have it. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys this. I did a show today out of North Carolina, and I felt like that the host, people like yourself, Phil, that were asking the questions, and when they were talking about Dave Doran, I felt like they were already frustrated with him, that it was just like, you know, this is just more of the same from NC State. So I think Clemson's got an opportunity to kind of impact that, you know, Saturday at noon and go out there and put their foot on the gas and go. But as far as what other guys are doing in the league, man, it is just, to me, I did not anticipate, you know, the certain teams like you just talked about rising to the top and then certain teams just falling by the wayside. And from a Clemson perspective, yeah, you kind of like that because everybody was anticipating it would be a Clemson-Florida State who was going to go to the ACC title game. Well, you kind of feel a little bit better about that. You still got to go out there and play the game, but you still, from a psyche standpoint, you feel a little bit better about it.
Sure. All right, Corey's now joined us, the other half of the M&M Boys, pastor of Payne. Great to have you with us, sir, as always on this Thursday night. Have you finished picking up all the laundry around Williams-Brice Stadium from last Saturday?
Yeah, no, I got to knock out socks, jocks, and T-shirts, you know what I mean? So
yeah, really.
I apologize. Yeah, you know what I mean? But, no, I'm at an event and had bad service. I had to get outside and make sure I can get the stuff. So apologies are mine, and I want to give Will a little more extra time since, you know, he had the sniffles last week.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think of LSU and the Gamecocks? A game right there for the taking for the Gamecocks, but they couldn't take it.
Phil, normally I do a post-game breakdown of the game, but I had to wait because as a pastor, as a preacher, I was so afraid that I was going to slip and say some cuss words. I'm going to tell you that right now. I had a lot of hatred and anger to anything that was black or white or worn black and white. I might have attacked it. And so I had to really step back. Listen, I was at the game, and I was excited how they played. They played the second half really without Lenora Sellers, but the defense was spectacular, 2 pick sixes. Listen, I'm a believer in this. If you prepare as an athlete, you outplay your opponent up and down the field for 3 quarters and some change, the officials should not take it away from you. I mean, I know if you go look at by the law, the one call, horse collar, jersey. You can't grab a kid's jersey anymore. That's horse collar. And if a quarterback that tends to go chase a ball carrier that intercepted his football, you can't just push him down. I mean, 16 points basically, taken off the board for South Carolina, and they lose a nail biter. Well, a game today, I feel like they really need it. But I'm happy how they played. They didn't, with 13 penalties, they made a lot of mistakes. But, man, for the officials to take points away, a deep ball, the deep ball called back late in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was just one of those games that I wish Shane Beamer would have just went off. As a player, sometimes you want your coach just to go off. I don't care about a ticky-tack fine. I don't care about a little bit of discipline from the conference. But from an athlete standpoint, from a player standpoint, you want your coach to be pissed off about what was witnessed. Everybody knew those were bad calls. I know you try to say the political thing, but screw political at this point. And so I was a little upset at all of them. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But the kids played their freaking hearts out. Yeah, they made mistakes, but they still played good enough to win a football game at home. The crowd was freaking amazing. But they should have had a W, should have been undefeated, should have been ranked this week. But now they're trying to fight their way back. So, hopefully they'll get over it like I'm unable to do right now. But I'm happy how they play. They did show that they can play with some of the best competition in the country.
Sure.
Corey, I'm glad you phrased it that way, that you're still having a hard time as a fan getting over the ball game, and I totally get that. But in your playing career, when you had a game like this where you felt like either the officials took it from you or you just made a bad mistake at the wrong time and lost a game you felt like you should have won, how difficult is it for a player to put a game like the LSU contest behind them and move forward?
It's hard. I'm worried. I'm really worried because that game to me was maybe potential 7-8 win. That's going to propel you. That's going to tell you, hey man, we can play with anybody in the country. And this has been a hard week, I can promise you, from a player standpoint, because when you put it all on the line, man, you pour your freaking guts on that field. You leave it right there on the field. We say that kind of loosely, but they did that. They left everything on that football field, and to have it snatched away. Now, they did some dumb things, too. You can't undermine that. That needs to be discussed and talked about from a coaching standpoint. But it's hard to answer your question, man. It's hard. You can tell. I'm a fan. I don't play, but I can tell you right now, I would have got a penalty in that game. I'm telling you, I would have got a real penalty because I promise you, I might have got some handcuffs put on me because that's kind of. I got home. My wife, who's a Clemson fan, even said that was terrible. She said they didn't even know certain numbers on the TV side. She said it was comical. My wife said, who is a diehard Clemson fan who went to Clemson, so that tells you everything you need to know. But hopefully, man, they'll bounce back, get this win, be 3-1, and then of course Alabama's looming around the corner here in a couple of weeks. So hopefully they can get it back and get the money. You have to flush it. You don't have a choice but to flush it. As bad as it was, you just got to flush it, man.
M&M Boys with Corey Miller and Will Merritt here tonight on Sports Talk. Will, I want to get back to Cade Klubnik's performance in a second, but I'll ask you the same question. I'm sure you've had games where you felt like you should have won and didn't.
Absolutely.
How difficult was it for you and your teammates to get over a game like what South Carolina may be experiencing this week?
Well, I think when Corey's alluding to, you got to flush it. I think this is where your leadership on your team has got to take just an absolute paramount approach. They have to be. I'm not saying be a bunch of rah-rah guys, but the leaders on the team after a loss like that, and I agree, that first quarter is as good as I've ever seen South Carolina play in a long time, and I thought it was their game, to lose, and I thought it was taken away from them as well. But I will tell you this, as a player, when you walk back in the locker room after a loss where you feel like we were the better team tonight, we were absolutely the better team. It takes special coaches, it takes special position coaches, and it takes special head coach to make sure that his guys don't let that loss beat them again. And that's all you can do is let your leaders of your players and let your coaches that know how to coach these players that are around them all the time to not let them say, okay, well, we lost that game, therefore we've lost the season. You can't let that happen. And honestly, Phil, back to your original question, I think some of that's going on at other schools with your Florida States and your Floridas and all these other schools that are just, I think they're down in the dumps, man. And I think they're letting one loss beat them again.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, and here's the thing, when you got all the fans and, listen, it's hard to keep these kids off social media. It's hard to keep these kids not hearing all the negativity, even, from the media that's saying every bad thing that your coach need to be fired at Florida, you're no good, blah, 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 Florida State. You were undefeated, to the bowl game last year, and then what happened. So they hearing all this stuff. Listen, man, your mind will play tricks on you, and it's hard. It's hard to recover. And I'm praying and hoping that South Carolina is able to get past this thing because they can't compete. But it's hard, man, when you got all the boo-birds and all the negativity that's surrounding your program. And as Will said, it's up to the coaches to now really, make that locker room the sanctity again and protect it.
Corey, so much has been made of the Gamecock defensive front and the pressure and the sacks. They only got 2 sacks. Now, those are the first 2 sacks LSU has allowed this season, but we talked about how good LSU's offensive line, their primo offensive line, and Stewart didn't have a tackle, not an assist, not a tackle, not anything. He didn't have anything on the stat sheet. So in looking and watching it, as I'm sure you were they just handled by that LSU, that talented LSU offensive line? Was it just a matter of a case where they ran up against an excellent offensive line and they could kind of nullify them a little bit?
They ran up, and I said this right last week, they were going to play the best O-line potential in the country, and they did. 2 tackles that are going to be first-round picks. And I told you I was watching Stewart, how he would handle himself against high-level competition. But I'm not shocked because he's still a young player, man. And these guys, this is the best there is, right? So, but they harassed the quarterback. They didn't get the sacks, Phil, but sometimes the coach will tell you, you don't have to get the sacks. Cause a problem. They created interceptions, right? They created pick sixes because of pressures and the bend in the face. So they did a lot of good things. They're not complete yet, but I still think they're one of the best D-lines in the country. They just happen to go up against the best offensive line in the country. They're not going to see any better for the rest of the season, that's for sure.
Well, I would agree with that. All right, let's wrap it up. Let's get the reading on the rivalry meter. At this stage, Clemson 1-1, getting ready to play NC State. Gamecocks 2-1, getting ready to play Akron. Corey, if the Gamecocks and Tiger, well, I won't say they're going to play today. Just as things stand today, looking at the two teams, when you look at the rivalry game, the end of November, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence level for the Gamecocks winning that game?
9.999 is my number right now. Clemson, they look good against App State, no doubt about it. Kay Klubnik played extremely well, but still, they hadn't beat anybody. South Carolina's played 2 conference games, blew out one who almost beat the number 1 team in the country, blew them out and almost beat the number 15 team in the country. Matter of fact, they should have beaten them. So right now, I would say South Carolina's playing better than Clemson, so I'm going 9.999.
Oh, and Will, same question. What's your confidence level, 1 to 10?
Well, and I'm going to have to go one step above Corey and just put it at a 10, just so that I can outpunt him a little bit on this one. But here's the thing. I mean, guys, you got to realize we're dealing with a very small sample size right now.
True.
Very small. And so I think to say where you are, I mean, once Clemson gets into playing, conference games and things of that nature, I think we'll know a little bit more about them. But I do agree that South Carolina is playing much better football than I thought they were going to be playing after that Old Dominion game. I think they have, they're playing much better. But, hey, I can't let Corey do a 9.99 and me not do a 10. That just wouldn't be right.
Well, last time you did like a 14, so you've come back a little bit. So.
Listen, I mean, I'll give them that. I mean, they are at home, right? They're in the game in Clemson this year, so you give them a 10. But listen, both teams, he's right, small sample size. But South Carolina's played 2 pretty good opponents in Kentucky and LSU early on in this season, whereas Clemson played 1 against Georgia and did not look good at all, especially in the second half. But we'll see. I know y'all heard Will talking about NC State and Florida State. Listen, these teams that are struggling right now, I just got a sneaky feeling when they play Clemson, they're not going to look the same. I just think that meter goes up because it is Clemson. And if you sit there and try to base a game based on what happened last week or 2 weeks ago, you're might be in some trouble. So NC State has players. They got senior-led positions on that football team. You just have to be careful about games like that.
Guys, can't thank you enough. Appreciate you.
Thanks, fellas.
Have yourselves a great rest of the week, a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Y'all do the same.
Roll Gamecocks. Roll Gamecocks.
Okay. Pastor of Payne, Corey Miller, and Will Merritt, who was a one-time ACC Offensive Lineman of the Week back in his day. So we give him credit for that. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Great job as always. Let's get to the recruiting report here on this big Thursday night on Sports Talk. Recruiting report is brought to you by our good friends over at Seawells. No buffet tomorrow. No roast beef Friday tomorrow because they have a private function going on. So make plans for next week to get over to Seawells. And also make plans with Seawells to handle your catering for your next special event. That needs the very best in the catering business because they are the best. They've been doing it about 80 years now. So just call Seawells at 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Okay. Let's go to the recruiting report tonight, and we begin with an update on one of the top linemen that South Carolina and Clemson. They both are pursuing him, but he most recently visited South Carolina, and that's Darius Gray in the 26 class. He's 6'4", 280 from Richmond. He was at USC on a Saturday for the LSU game and basically blown away by the fans, the fan support. That was really the biggest thing to him. As he put it, how much the fans have the team's back. and they were willing to be behind them with whatever was going on. So he really enjoyed that. He talked to line coach Lonnie Teasley. They've grown pretty tight because they've been recruiting him for a while. He first came to camp at South Carolina in the 8th grade, and he likes what he's seeing, what Teasley's doing with that Gamecock offensive line, which he is doing a good job. That offensive line is definitely improving. So South Carolina is very much in the hunt right now. Clemson is as well. And as far as what's ahead for him, as he continues with visits and evaluating everything from his offer list, which also includes Miami and Texas A&M, Syracuse, Alabama, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Georgia, Miami, Virginia, Tennessee, Penn State, Oklahoma, LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, NC State, Maryland, and there are others. He's not yet narrowed the list. He did say South Carolina is a high probability of being on the short list when he gets to it. He does not have a date in mind. He does not have a announcement date in mind either. He's been to Virginia for a game as well. He plans to go to Virginia Tech this weekend, also planning to visit Ohio State, Tennessee, and possibly Penn State during the season. Today, USC offered defensive end Josh Smith. He's 6'2", 230 of Dutch Fork, who's been committed to Coastal Carolina. He's in the 2025 class. What you want to say about that, Mr. Bergen?
Don't know.
Okay.
Don't follow his recruiting close enough to make a educated comment either way.
Great analysis. 2027 defensive end KJ Green of Stone Mountain, Georgia, 6'5", 215, plans to visit USC on Saturday. 2025 safety Jordan Young of Monroe, North Carolina, plans to visit Clemson on Saturday. He also made an official visit with the Tigers the first weekend in June. NC State has also been strong with him, along with Florida State, Michigan, and Alabama. He's probably been to state more than any of the other schools. 2026 corner Samari Matthews of Cornelius, North Carolina, plans to be at Clemson Saturday. He was at USC last weekend. USC offered 2026 running back Amari Clemens of Marianna, Florida. USC target defensive end Xavion Griffin Haynes was offered by Georgia. Basketball, the USC women in the mix with 2026 6'2" McKenna Walitzko, San Jose, California. She's already visited the Gamecocks unofficially. Baseball, 2026 infielder Luis Hernandez of Sanford, Florida, committed to Clemson. And 2026 infielder William Cutshaw of Seneca, committed to Ole Miss. According to Eric Sprott of the Journal, last season Cutshaw batted .436 with 5 homers and 20 RBIs. He was 7-2 on the mound with a 1.89 ERA. He struck out 88 in 54 innings. All right, there you go. That is the recruiting report for tonight. Brought to you by Seawells, always available on our website. Our recruiting stories on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on X, use the hashtag STRecruiting. As we come to the end here. I'm going back to the quick conversation we had about MVPs. I'm glad y'all said that there's one in each league. I mean, I know that. But what I'm saying is what I was talking about was the ultimate, who is the best player in baseball this season. One will be the AL, one will be the NL, but who's the best this season based on what they've done?
It's Ohtani, especially if he were pitching. I mean, he's not pitching right now because his arm's sore, but, I mean, the guy's incredible. Aaron Judge is an outfielder who hits for power. I mean, they're, no offense, but they're a dime a dozen in the major leagues.
Well, now, there's not a dime a dozen to hit over 50 home. They're not 50 home run hitters are not a dime a dozen. Not 50
No, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, I mean, you can get a power hit off the street.
He's going to, depending on how many more games he plays in the regular season, he's going to end up around 140 RBIs. I mean, he's and his batting average is in 3. He's very close to Triple Crown numbers. You know, he's got a very good chance. Not sure where he stands in the batting race, but he might have a good chance at claiming the Triple Crown. What if he wins the Triple Crown?
I'm just telling you, if I had to have a player, I would rather have somebody like Ohtani.
He always breaks down.
And good thing Aaron Judge never does. Because he's a pillar of health.
Hang on one second. I want to see American League batting leaders just to augment my conversation here. American League batting leaders. Bobby Witt, 331.
He's another guy who should be in the running for American League MVP.
Yeah, he's not going to win. Probably
he's
not
a 30 guy short.
Judges hitting 321, 53 home runs, 136 RBIs, and 125 walks. Come on. See you tomorrow night. Sports Talk. Founders Federal Football.
Hey, Benedict's playing tonight, 8 o'clock. Go see him.